Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here with us today. Once again, we're continuing to look at our urban parking system repository that's been designed and developed in Enterprise Architect. Today, we're going to continue on with our series that's looking at requirements modeling and management. And we're going to start off looking at mind maps and how some of those mind maps can eventually turn into requirements and start the process. So my name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined by Stephen Maguire. Welcome, Stephen. What can you tell us about using mind maps in Enterprise Architect to start the journey for creating good requirements in EA?
Thanks for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yeah, one of my favourite topics as well. A lot of people that start requirements modelling kind of think they have to start from scratch, but that's not true at all. And Enterprise Architect, with its broad range of tool features and diagram types, allows you to start in a place that's almost like the logical place to start. So how do you gather stakeholder concerns, issues, notions, things that they want? Well, typically you have a workshop. An Enterprise Architect has a number of facilities that are incredibly useful for the workshop. And one of my favorite is the mind map diagram, which is available in Enterprise Architect. Let's get started, Scott. As always, I like to set my perspective up in the top right-hand corner. I can do that. I can drop down the perspective sets. You can see that I've been doing some Zachman Enterprise Architecture work earlier today. I can drop down the perspective sets. And here I want to look at strategy. Now I can look at requirements, but you can see that Enterprise Architect has got a number of other perspective sets. And the one I want to look at is mind map. And you'll see, Scott, how this relates to requirements. So, sit tight and we'll see where this journey goes. So we've got our mind maps there. We've got a basic mind map that we can look at. And I'm going to close that. You can inject that into your model using the Create Model button here, but I want to do things from first principles. I'll close the builder page and I'm going to go in and start working inside the model. Now, I'm going to put a new package in here and I'm going to call it the payment subsystem.
Okay.
We're going to focus on that. It's a fairly rich part of the model. So payment subsystem, and we'll create that package there. Now, underneath that, we can put another package, and we'll call it workshops.
Yep.
We might have a number of different workshops. We're going to have workshops with, engineering providers, the people that are providing the, the hardware, or, we might have workshops with strategy people. So let's have a look, and we'll have a look at these workshops, and we'll say, let's create a stakeholder focus workshop. So that's our workshop we're doing. We put some notes into that to explain what the workshop's about. But let's get started. Let's create a diagram here, Scott. I'm going to go to the toolbar of the project browser window there, new diagram, and Enterprise Architect focuses on mind mapping, a mind mapping diagram. I'm going to accept that default name there and create the diagram. So blank palette, Enterprise Architect presents the toolbox with the elements and connector that I can use in this model. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in right in the center, I'm going to put in a central topic. Makes sense, and I'll drop it into the middle there and give it a name there. I'll put some notes in there as well. I won't do that right at the moment. Now I'm going to put in some other elements, Scott, and I can just use the quick linker and push that out there, and I'm going to put in main topic here, and it's going to be the motorist. And again, as I said, we like to put in some notes into these, and quite often it's good to put notes in, especially for these stakeholders. So this main topic
seems pretty quick to create these elements. Could you do it in a meeting and just kind of jot down things as ideas are thrown about in a meeting?
Yeah, great suggestion, Scott. That's exactly what you should be doing. People use other tools for mind mapping, I've seen in workshops, but I want to explain to people the productivity that comes from doing it inside Enterprise Architect, because we'll see as we go through this journey how it can be connected to requirements and then to analysis and, finally down to the nuts and bolts of our parking meter system. So yeah, that's exactly right. Very, very easy to do inside here. And, I can just go here and say, look, the motorist is interested in, all sorts of different things. Let's put a few of them in. Convenience is one of them. So we just simply use that quick link again, and we go, this one here, subtopic. And we'll, actually, I don't want a subtopic. No, I'll create it simply as a topic, Scott, and we'll go down just to that level there. So let's do it as a topic, and its convenience. And, the kind of, again, we'll put some notes in and, so explain what's going on. So as the stakeholders in this meeting are saying things, the modeler is recording them. So rather than just putting it down on a piece of paper thing, you can record them. So driver seat parking options that are easy to find, access, and using the words that the stakeholders are using themselves. And that way when they look at it in review, they'll go, oh yeah, I remember saying that. So another thing that these drivers are interested in is probably cost as well. So parking costs. So we'll do that, and we'll put in that it's a topic there. And
I've been to stakeholder meetings where you do all this on butcher's paper, and then you have to transcribe it all, and then you have to model it all. It kind of seems a bit pointless when you can just do it all in EA and it's there and you can reuse this information. So
yeah, exactly, Scott. Let's put another interested stakeholder in here, and this is a big one, and it is the municipal council, or the local government, whoever, the mayor's office, whatever it's called in your particular region. Again, we'll put some notes in there, explain what it is. So, government officials responsible for creating and implementing parking policies. So that's there. And what kind of things are they interested in? Well, no prizes for guessing this particular one, Scott. Let's put it out there and see if our audience can guess what this is. I'm sure you've all been part of this. And we'll call it revenue generation.
Yeah.
So it's where the money goes when you park illegally and get an infringement notice. We'll put some notes in that. Parking fees represent a significant source of municipal income for the city budgets. Council must balance. So look, we've done enough on that for people to understand what it's looking like. I'm going to get you to do some of your time travel magic, Scott, and we'll finish this diagram and we'll pretend that the stakeholder meeting has been completed and we've finished our model and done a little bit of reorganization when the meeting's finished.
Welcome back, everybody. We've done a little bit of time travel magic, and now we have our completed focus workshop with all of the feedback from our stakeholders, and we've put it into a very nice mind mapping diagram. So I'll hand over to you, Stephen, so you can tell us some of the things that we learned from this workshop and how we can then take this information and eventually create some requirements.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, and good to be back here. We have finished the diagram, and you can see that we've added a little bit of colour to the diagram to make it very obvious who the different stakeholders are. So we've got motorists, we've got municipal council that we did, we've got parking operators, payment processors, merchants, technology providers there. I'll show you how I can do that. I can simply just select that one there and go into the layout ribbon and choose the font button there. And I can say that I want it to be bold. I want it to be font size 10, and we'll set the color also there, Scott, so we can simply set the color of that text, and we'll set it to maybe this color. So a little bit dark, we'll push that down a little bit. And you can see how easy that is to do it. I've put the borders around those a bit stronger to 5 units there. But the diagram has got all this information in. As you said, Scott, which you very rightly said, people do this on butcher's paper or, little Post-its and things. I don't think, in most of my experience working with stakeholders, they're quite happy to see these things projected on a board, and they can see that their concerns, their issues are being written down.
Yeah.
Now, these are not requirements at this stage. These are not requirements. No. These are simply the concerns, the issues, the predilections of the particular stakeholders. And of course, you might have multiple stakeholders in there, different. You might have 3 or 4 people representing or surrogates for the motorists. You might have different merchants, so you can see the merchants are represented there as well. Customer convenience, validation systems, special event parking, all sorts of things. Let's have a look and see what we do with this now to start our requirements journey. So this is just one of the things that can start that journey. The other one is, of course, the business case. There can be lots of other strategic models that we talked about, but we're looking at focusing on this one here, and it's relatively easy to move from here to our requirements world. So let's go back to our payment subsystem. We'll close this workshop. One other thing, Scott, you can see that these elements have been nested underneath, and so if you wanted to print this out as a document to show the stakeholders that what you've recorded, they could jump onto this model through one of the web interfaces and discuss that. And you might say, look, time flexibility, parkers need option for short-term, long-term available duration. They might have some other thing that they didn't quite articulate in the meeting, or maybe you as a scribe have written something down just a little bit wrongly, and so that gives them the ability to to go back and make some adjustments to that through the web interface.
And I'm assuming you could drill down into each of those elements and create another diagram if something needed to be fleshed out in more detail.
Exactly, Scott. You can go into one of these elements here, for example, and you could come down into the diagram and you can put in like a subtopic there, and that can go on. Or you could, like you said, you can create another diagram underneath there as well that explains it. And they might have some collateral. They might be the environmental impacts. They may have some collateral. You can put URLs on this that link to things. So the possibilities are endless there. Let's get into our requirement space, payment subsystem. We're going to create a package up here in the browser toolbar. I can go new package, and I'm going to call this requirements, and I'll click on that. And now let's get this journey started. Let's put in start putting our requirements in here. So I'm going to change my perspective, Scott. And remember, I said in some other videos that you can do that, once or twice a year. You can do it once or twice a month, or as many as 4 or 5 times a day. Exactly. So I'm going to go into requirements there, and I'm going to click on requirements. You can see that this pops up again. So I've got my builder page. I'm going to close that, working from first principles, and let's create some requirements. So let's not worry too much about who's they are at the moment, or what type of requirement it is. Let's just get these requirements in. So we're going to create a requirements diagram under this package. I do that by simply going up here to the toolbar, clicking on that. I've got extended there, requirements diagram. I'm just going to keep that the same, and we'll look at in future videos how we start organizing the requirements. I'm going to say create diagram, and I've got now the toolbox that have popped up, and we've got a number of different pages here. We've got just requirements, package, requirements, feature, risk, object, and then we've got extended requirements, functional, business, user, non-functional. So all the kind of requirements that you might be expected to gather. The payment system security is going to be an important thing. Regulatory is going to be important, probably architectural, non-functional, how fast is the payment transaction go through, all of those things. So, but let's just use the generic requirements one for the moment. So we'll put that onto the diagram, and we will give that a name, and it's called merchant partnership integration that we want to do. So we have a look at whether we might do, merchant partnership integration. That's an interesting one. And let's get some notes for that one, Scott, and we'll put that on there, and we'll put the notes into the notes field down there. So you can see now that requirement has been put in. What I want to show you, Scott, as well, is that requirement has gone into the project browser, and it's underneath requirements there. It's gone into the same package that contains the requirements diagram. But the other thing I want to show you, Scott, is that what I can do is just simply drag a requirement from the toolbox directly onto the package. So I'll just plonk that over the top of it there, drop it in, and you can see that's gone in, and I can simply press my F2 button to put in the name of that requirement. So
it can be in the browser, but it doesn't have to appear on the diagram.
Exactly right. And you don't have to create a diagram at all. So let's just put those things in. So if I didn't want to have the diagram, I can just remove it. So let's do that and show what happens there. I'm going to delete that requirements diagram, and lo and behold, we haven't lost our requirements there at all. And I can, if you remember from the introduction video that we did, we can look at these requirements in a number of different ways. One of them that's a very useful way is the specification manager. You can go up here and you can see now that I've got that requirement listed there. And I can work on the requirement in that view. So, I could say, look, the system must support partnerships with local merchants, with any local merchants, for example, and that's changed that text there. I can also put these notes into inline notes as well, where I'm able to edit them more in a sort of a document kind of view, Scott. But let's have a look. So we looked at that, and if we go to the notes here in the element, selecting the element, we can see that word any that I popped in there has shown up. Now, what we want to do now, Scott, is to create a requirements diagram. So I just showed you that you don't need to do that, and many people can just work inside the browser without that. But requirement diagrams is useful when you start wanting to connect requirements to other elements, which is precisely what we're going to be up to, connecting these elements to our mind map diagram. So let's go new diagram there, and we'll go requirements, and we'll say requirements times, and we won't put that with times, it's stakeholder workshop. And it's the stakeholder payment workshop. So we'll just put that in as well, because we may have a number of different workshops. We'll create that diagram. So you can see I can change that name on the fly there. There I have my my diagram. And now, Scott, I've got these elements in here. So what I can do now is I could put both these diagrams next to each other. I'm going to change my toolbox there, just hide that away using the chevron, and I can now just move this one over a little bit as well if I want to, and let's just put this diagram into another pane there. So now I've got my diagram. That's kind of useful. I can still move around that diagram. Remember, I can use my pan and zoom window to move around that diagram to see what I want. And now let's concentrate on our requirements. So let's put this municipal revenue reporting requirement in there. I'll put that into the diagram there, and I'll now think, I could look through my mind map and try and find things. I could also just go to the search window, and I can go to Start here, Explore panel, Search, and go into the model, and I can say, look, let's look for revenue, something to do with revenue. We might find a number of things, but I want to show you that this is a possibility when you've got lots of, and you can see there are lots and lots of things there about revenue. So let's look and see if we can find something more specifically about revenue generation. And we'll say okay to that. And we have got quite a few things here, but you can see that here we've got the fact that it's a main topic. That gives us the clue that it's a mind mapping diagram. Yeah. So
can you find that in the diagram? And
so I can do that, and I can say revenue generation. I can say find in diagrams, right? And there it's located that. I wanted to show you that, Scott, because you might have a much larger mind mapping diagram and you might not be able to find that, but it's very very easy with that open there, and I can just simply make a copy of that. Control C. I'm copying that, and I'm just going to Control. Let me have a look at that. I will just Control C that, and there it goes into my diagram, and I'm going to link these up now. And so this is the higher order thing. This is what came from the stakeholder, and I'm going to make a link there. You can use a number of different...
prove to the stakeholders that all of the items that they discussed have eventually become a requirement.
Exactly, Scott. Exactly, Scott. And look, the sky's the limit. The project manager is going to be interested in it. We don't. The project manager is all about scope and timing and cost and things. No use in having requirements that aren't linked to anything, because they're little islands by themselves, and maybe someone's gold plating the requirements list. We need to be able to see that they're linked to a project manager. Will often say, what's the source of this requirement? Where did it come from? So that's useful there, Scott. I can display this in here, and I can go into the diagram and say I want to display. I'll go to my properties and my compartments there, and I can put in. So I'm over in the properties window over here, and I'm going to go into notes there and display that, and that will display them for the requirement, and I can see them there for that revenue generation there. I can do something else as well. I can put this one into enable info view, and you can see now that in this view I've got the details of that revenue generation topic. So parking fees represent a significant source of revenue. We've linked it to this requirement. And so remember, the topic or the things you recorded in the stakeholder meeting are not requirements, and you are not going to write them simply in the same language. The language is going to change. So you'll see in this one here, if I go into my pan and zoom and just zoom in a bit on that, you'll see now the language has changed. The system must provide city officials with detailed revenue reports categorized by distinct time period and parking type. So there are going to be a number of different requirements here. So revenue
and you
generation.
could have a topic from your workshop that spawns 10 or 15 requirements as well.
Exactly, Scott. Exactly. Yeah. So you might take these up in future workshops. But that's the connection there to that one. And of course, we can look at this other one, and we can look at the other requirement that we had, merchant partnership integration. Let's have a look at that, and we'll plonk that onto the diagram there and see what the notes say on that. That will pop up as well. The system must support partnerships with any local merchants who offer validated parking and joint promotional discounts. So let's see if we can do that. We can simply use our pan and zoom window, clicking on this diagram here. Let's move over to the merchants over here, and we've got competitive, convenient, validated systems. So I think this is the one here. We'll look at the notes on that as well. Merchants seek parking validation programs that allow subsidised customer parking. That's probably a relevant one there. We can simply control copy that one, control V that one in, validation system. I didn't click on that diagram by the look of it. It wasn't inside this particular diagram. And there it is there. And again, if I want to, I can put that one into info view as well, and say, look, that will be there, and I can put that down. And with the info view, Scott, I can put a lot of other information in there. So I can say, look, I want to look at the appearance there, info view properties. I want to look at who the author was of that, make sure who was recording that. And I think you'll find it might have been me. The status of it, and some other things like the phase, other information that might be useful. And you can see that's going to go on to that element. Again, I'll link this up using a dependency relationship to say that depends on that particular one. Resize these guys here to the same size. Layout ribbon, and I'm going to multi-select these elements. The one with the stipple border acts as the template, and I'll say make the same width. And then you can just use the alignment tools just to line these guys up. You can see that that's working there, and that's it, Scott. So we've got a lot more work to do on that, and we will do that in a future video, and we'll start to look at categorizing these elements as types of requirements as well, because clearly these are stakeholder requirements, and we may want to make people aware of that. But you can see how powerful that relationship between the mind mapping diagram, recording these stakeholder issues, concerns, and the requirements diagram. So again, the traceability window there is going to tell us the truth as well, so we can start to see those relationships there as well. So lots of other views that we're going to look at later, including the relationship matrix view. And the other thing, Scott, is if I go in here and go, let's switch views to the specification view. I'll just save that diagram first. Go into the specification view. So right mouse click on the diagram palette there, specification view. And you can see now that because I'm looking at the diagram, and because the diagram has multiple different types of element, I've got both the mind mapping elements here as well as the requirements, and so I can
Yep.
work on them together. So lots and lots of possible ways of presenting and working and managing these requirements.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Stephen. It's great to see how you've been able to capture ideas and concepts as they've come up in the workshop meeting, being able to capture lots of notes and details and discussion, and then being able to link the requirements to conversations and topics and ideas from the workshop, and then having traceability and being able to follow those ideas through. So I think it's wonderful that it's all available in Enterprise Architect and all within a single tool. So thank you for that. To our audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I hope you've learned something about mind mapping, and we've just scratched the surface, but hopefully you can see how powerful Enterprise Architect is for managing requirements and for modeling them and for linking requirements to workshop elements, mind maps, strategy, and much, much more. If you have any questions about requirements modeling and management in Enterprise Architect, you can reach out to Stephen using his LinkedIn and website credentials that are listed in the video notes below. And as always, thank you for your expertise and for your assistance in showing us all these features today, Stephen. It's greatly appreciated.
Always a pleasure to be here, Scott. And apart from doing good work, it's always great to have some fun using the tool.